From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the Kern County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy, and our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters?
Here.
Supervisor Parlier?
Here.
Supervisor Flores?
Here.
Supervisor Couch? Supervisor Perez?
Here.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 10th, 2 p.m. meeting of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We'll first hear from County Counsel Kendra Graham for a report on action taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. I'm Chairman Peters, members of the board. This morning, following the AM agenda, your board met in closed session on items 41 through 44. There were no reportable actions taken.
Okay, thank you. Our first item is number 1, proclaiming March 16th through 20th, 2026 as National Surveyors Week in Kern County. And I think Supervisor Parlier is going to be presenting that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Motion approved.
Oh.
Second.
Well, we'll come back to that. Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Here, gather around over here a little bit. Chairman, colleagues, this afternoon I speak in support of proclaiming March 16th through the 20th, 2026 as National Surveyors Week in Kern County. One of the most frequent calls for assistance our county receives is from the public involves questions about land boundaries. Surveyors play a vital role in helping resolve those questions with accuracy, fairness, and professionalism. Their work provides the foundation for how we plan and advance this county, guiding the development of homes, businesses, roads, and public infrastructure. In many ways, surveyors help define the very framework of our communities. Surveyors are and have been essential professionals whose expertise ensures that land is measured, mapped, and developed responsibly. Their work protects property rights, supports economic growth, and helps keep projects on solid ground, literally and figuratively. Today, we recognize the important contributions surveyors make to our county and to our way of life. For those reasons and more, the Board of Supervisors happily proclaims March 16th through the 20th, 2026, as National Surveyors Week in Kern County. And I'd like to invite the Director of Public Works, Josh Champlin, to come up, and anyone else like to make a few comments. I'd like to present you with this certificate too, Josh, signed by our Honorable Chair. Are you going to accept?
I'm going to defer.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce him.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Chairman Peters and members of the board, Supervisor Parlier, thank you for this. I'm just going to make my comments brief. I'm Joshua Champlin, Public Works Director. And I just want to kind of introduce Jeremy Brock. He's been your county surveyor for a few years now, and I just wanted to extend my gratitude to him and say how much we appreciate you and your staff who are here in attendance today, as well as some local land surveyors who are going to address your board today. But once again, Jeremy, thank you for your continued work, and we very much appreciate you. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? If you're a surveyor or involved in this department, can you please stand up? Please.
Thank you, members of the board, for graciously providing me the opportunity to offer this brief presentation of to both the board and our community, and for your continued support. We sincerely say this in strengthening and advancing the County Surveyor's Office. It is a distinct honor and privilege to speak on behalf of the surveying profession through Kern County. I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation, first of all, to my direct supervisor, Adrian Nava, who puts up with me, and of course, our director, thank you for the kind words, Public Works Director Josh Champlin, for his steadfast leadership, and for giving me the permission, after knowing who I am, to address all of you in these chambers today. And so lastly, I would like to acknowledge and pay tribute to all of those who just stood, the dedicated professionals within the Kern County Surveyor's Office. Many of them are present today, not all, and with whom I am privileged to serve alongside. They represent the surveying and mapping staff, which is field surveying, base mapping. They also represent our map counter and our group of map checkers. Also, I'd like to say a very special thank you to my wife who made it today. The beautiful lady, she's easy to spot. My wife, Kelly, she should be on staff. She should be on payroll, but you probably cannot pay her enough for all the support she gives me. So I'm glad she's here today. So on behalf of all of our local professional land surveyors and the Bakersfield chapter of the California Land Surveyors Association, this department humbly thanks your board for issuing this proclamation for recognizing National Surveyors Week. This proclamation serves to highlight and acknowledge the rich history of the surveying profession in the mapping of our nation, and to recognize the profession's continued contributions to the improvement, development, and orderly growth of our society. Since the earliest days of civilization, societies have relied upon surveyors to resolve questions of land boundaries, to establish the framework for the planning and construction of both public and private works. From the pyramids of Egypt and the aqueducts of Rome, to the remarkable infrastructure and engineering achievements of the modern world, surveyors have played a foundational role. So more than 2 centuries ago, leaders of this nation, our own leaders such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they served as land surveyors, establishing enduring standards of diligence, public service, and professional integrity that continue to guide this profession today. Professional land surveyors uniquely possess the specialized expertise required to research, to gather, and to analyze the evidence necessary for the retracement and the establishment of property boundaries, which remain essential to our system of land ownership and property rights. So we are grateful for this board for its ongoing support of the Kern County Surveyor's Office. Our office administers and preserves land surveying records, reestablishes, maintains, and perpetuates government survey monuments, and carefully reviews property boundaries and subdivision maps to ensure accuracy and compliance. The County Surveyor's Office serves a unique and multifaceted role. While we provide services directly to the public, such as map checking and legal description review, we also support the Public Works Department on a daily basis across numerous critical functions. For example, our division provides construction staking for county infrastructure projects, including roadways and landfills. We prepare legal descriptions for right-of-way and property acquisitions and create mapping for newly established properties. Additionally, all mapping and legal descriptions required for land divisions processed through the Planning and Natural Resource Department are reviewed with careful attention and technical expertise of our professional staff. Most construction projects undertaken by Public Works begin with a preliminary survey request, which results in a detailed base map prepared by our office before the data is transmitted to the design team. Once the design work is completed, our surveyors return back to the field to stake the newly designed features such as curb and gutter, pavement alignments, concrete pads, streetlight locations, landfill lift staking, bridges, and numerous other features and structures. Our team utilizes state-of-the-art GPS or global positioning system technology, as well as aerial drone platforms to efficiently and accurately perform our work. Our map room is something to be very, very proud of. Our map room is widely regarded as one of the most comprehensive and valuable research repositories among county surveyor offices throughout the state of California. It serves as a critical resource for both professional surveyors and members of the public who rely on these records for research and historical reference, and your board can be very, very proud of that. Additionally, many county departments rely heavily on our GIS system, or our Geographical Information System, of the more than 200 data layers that comprise the entire county's GIS framework. Several were originally developed in our office, in our mapping division, and more than 76 of those layers continue to be actively maintained by our staff. So, in conclusion, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to your board for proclaiming this week as National Surveyors Week in the County of Kern. The practice of surveying plays a vital role in the safety, stability, and orderly development of our communities, and many of the dedicated professionals standing behind me today contribute significantly to that important responsibility. And I would like to introduce two of them who will be speaking very briefly. I know I was kind of long-winded, but I'm proud of what I do and the board that supports me and the county I serve. But here are some private surveyors that we work with who have been in the profession, although you can't tell by looking at them, they're young. They look young, younger than me. These people have been in the profession longer than me. I worked with them when I started out in the map room counter, and I assisted them in their research, and here they are today supporting me and this proclamation. And first, I would like to introduce someone who's been in the profession for more than 38 years and who is always a pleasure to work with and alongside with, and that is Roland Vandevalk.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Peters and members of the board. Again, my name is Roland Vandevalk, and I'm here today representing the Bakersfield chapter of the California Land Surveyors Association. Thank you for recognizing National Surveyors Week and honoring the profession of land surveying. Land surveyors play a quiet and essential role in Kern County. And again, repeating, we establish property boundaries, protect property rights, private property rights, and provide the foundation of land use planning, infrastructure, and public works. Every road, every utility, every subdivision began with the work of a land surveyor. The local land surveying profession wants to recognize the leadership and the service of Kern County Surveyor Jeremy Brock, whose work and stewardship uphold the integrity of the county's land survey records and the surveying practices. Kern County also has made a significant contribution to the profession statewide. It has been the home and workplace of 3 presidents of the California Land Surveyors Association, Mr. Ronald Nelms, myself, and someone who I'll introduce in just a minute. That is a testament to the depth of professional leadership found right here in Kern County. The profession of land surveying is in need of young people to carry it forward. And that's a message that we want to get out to everyone. And it is also the responsibility of all to protect and perpetuate the land surveying monuments that serve as the foundation of property rights and the public trust. On behalf of the licensed professional land surveyors serving Kern County, I want to thank the board for this recognition and for your continued support and work that we do to serve the public. Now, it is my honor to introduce the current president of the California Land Surveyors Association and fellow Kern County surveyor, Ms. Christy Ashe.
Good afternoon, Chair, Supervisors, distinguished guests, and my fellow land surveyors here with me today. My name is Christy Ashe. I work for a private company, QK, and I'm president of the California Land Surveyors Association. Thank you for this honor and for recognizing National Surveyors Week. I'm grateful to stand here on behalf of the dedicated professional land surveyors across our state and the many hardworking surveyors right here in Kern County. California Land Surveyors is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, and I've been a part of the association for 20 years since I moved here to Kern County. That's a third of the time, so I think it's appropriate that I'm the third female president of the state association and also the third president from our local Bakersfield chapter, as Roland mentioned just a second ago, following in Roland and Ron's footsteps. This proclamation acknowledges not only our technical expertise, but also our commitment to build public trust, accuracy, and service. It honors the surveyors who came before us, those who work tirelessly today, and the next generation entering a profession filled with opportunity, innovation, and responsibility. Thank you again.
Can I have everyone right here, please? Congratulations, this is great. Would you like the team down too, or do you want?
Yeah, come on down, guys.
Come on down.
Come on down.
And you just kind of spread out on each side. Bring a little tighter, though. Yeah, 2 rows is fine also. Come on, with surveyors, you think you'd already have this done.
Stand in the middle. I'm now behind you.
Don't get my legs in it, please.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, before we continue, we're going to go back briefly to County Council.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ms. Gregg brought it to my attention that when I gave my report out of closed session, I left off item number 45, so I want to add for item number 45. We heard items 41 through 45, and there were no reportable actions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries, it's been a long day. Okay, next we're going to consider the consent agenda. Excuse me. Okay, all items listed with a CA or a C above the item are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. The CA represents the consent agenda for the Board of Supervisors, while the C represents the consent agenda for the Kern Sanitation Authority and/or Ford City Taft Heights Sanitation District. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If members of the audience wish to comment on or ask questions regarding any item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. Members of the board may remove any items from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. Members of the public may also comment on closed session items. And I would like to note that items 5 and 6 have been removed from the consent agenda and will be heard in their own listed sequence. So that leaves items 7 through 9 on page 3, items 10 through 15 on page 4, items 16 through 21 on page 5, 22 through 28 on page 6, and items 29 through 33 on the consent agenda. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on those items? Okay, please come down to the podium.
On number 6.
Item 6 will be heard in listed sequence. That's
You're
not
right.
part of the
Okay.
consent. Yeah.
I have another subject then. I'm sorry.
Okay.
1 second, I'm so sorry. Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Caitlin Payne.
Sorry, this isn't time for public comment. This is just, we're speaking to a specific item on consent agenda if you have
Okay,
one.
well then mine's already been addressed.
Okay, no problem. Okay, seeing no comment on the consent agenda, I did want, oh, I'm sorry. If you would like to speak on a consent agenda item, please come down to the podium. I'm sorry, this is my first time. No problem.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question.
Yeah, no worries.
My name is Jim Rylander. I actually live in Mount Mesa area.
I think you're here to talk about the duplex.
Just a consent to remove this from the agenda.
Yeah,
for
that way
today.
it won't be on the consent agenda. It'll be heard separately. It'll be item number 5 that we
Okay, I
hear.
appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, not seeing any items, comment on closed session, or excuse me, on the consent agenda. I did want to mention a couple items that are on consent, and that's items 21 and 23. Item 21 is $300,000 for maintenance projects at the Lake Isabella Senior Center, as well as $300,000 for maintenance projects at the Community Center in Randsburg. And those will get done some much needed upgrades and improvements to those buildings that we're looking forward to. And I just want to thank General Services Department for working with our office to make that happen. So unless there's any comments from the board, I will entertain a motion on consent agenda and to adjourn as the Kern County Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Kern Sanitation Authority.
Motion to that effect.
Thank you. Thank you. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, we're now sitting as the Kern Sanitation Authority and we'll consider item C2. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn as the Kern Sanitation Authority, approve the item, adjourn as the Kern Sanitation Authority and reconvene as the Kern County Board of Supervisors.
Motion to approve and reconvene.
Thank you. Is there a second? Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, we are now sitting as the Kern County Board of Supervisors, and we will hear public presentation. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter that is not on this agenda, but is under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed, ask questions for clarification, make referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. The board may also take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Are there any members that would like to speak under public presentation?
Hello, Mike Guillen, Guillen from Mojave. Supervisors, for the afternoon session, I wanted to briefly address the language of the inspection and abatement warrants itself. I'm going to read directly from the warrant and the record so that the record is clear. The warrant authorizes entry with sheriff deputies, abatement contractors, and animal control officers for the purpose of keeping peace and the safety of the officers. That language describes law enforcement's role to maintain peace during the execution of the warrant. However, I was arrested during the execution of this warrant and removed from the property. Under California Code of Civil Procedure 1822.56, inspection warrants are generally executed in the presence of the owner or occupant. The warrant also specifically references animal control officers as a part of the execution team. Animal control was not present during the abatement, and the animals of the property were not secured and were harmed. The warrant then commands the scope of work to board and secure fire-damaged unsecured structures on site. The wording specifically references fire-damaged structures. My apartment unit did not have fire damage. Because these instructions come directly from the court-issued warrant, I simply asking the county to clarify how these directions were interpreted during the execution of this abatement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gann. Supervisor Parlier?
Thank you, Chairman. Kendra, I asked you on the AM session to give Mr. Gann a written response. So portions of his comments today, if there's anything we can potentially include in that response also.
Supervisor Parlier, through the chair, yes, we can absolutely do that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other members of the public would like to speak?
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Caitlin Payne, Catlin Payne. My information has been emailed to the clerk of the board. I'm here to raise a concern about the integrity of the recent point-in-time homeless count in our community. The evening before the count, between approximately 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., there was a sweep of encampments in the Kern River Valley. When encampments are displaced immediately before the pit count, it can significantly impact the accuracy of the data being collected. The point-in-time count is not just a survey, it directly informs federal and state funding decisions. Programs through HUD, Continuum of Care, and other homelessness initiatives rely on these numbers to determine how resources are distributed. When people are pushed out of visible areas or forced to relocate right before the count, they are less likely to be counted. For rural communities like the Kern River Valley, where homelessness is already underreported and services are limited, even a small undercount can mean the loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential funding for housing, outreach, behavioral health services, and substance use treatment. Accurate data is essential if we want to bring real resources into our rural communities. If the number doesn't reflect reality, the funding won't either. I respectfully ask the board to look into what occurred, ensure what enforcement actions are coordinated so that they do not interfere with future point-in-time counts, and work with local partners to ensure the data truly reflects the need of the Kern River Valley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak? If you'd like to speak, just please come down to the podium.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. My name is Corey Davison, Coreydavisson, and I'm here representing Influencers Youth Sports, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has drummed up quite a bit of media false narratives this past week due to the Metro complex behind Sam Lynn. First, I want to acknowledge the long history that Northwest Baseball has at these fields and the many families involved in that program. In fact, several members of our board are local residents who grew up playing recreational baseball with Northwest as well as Southwest. So we have a great respect for the role in the community. I myself played rec ball, played in 3 Cal Ripken Babe Ruth World Series, and was lucky enough to play college and professional baseball after that. Unfortunately, there's been some confusion in media and social media about what our proposal was mean. Our intent is not to replace Northwest Baseball. We are fully open, and our RFP specifically states Northwest Baseball stay at the capacity they are as a rec league. They would just use the weekday league play and select weekends, while our tournament company can provide tournaments to travel baseball on those other weekends. In addition, our proposal includes a guaranteed annual investment of $75,000 back into the facility to help maintain and improve the fields for the benefit of all players and families who use them. Our goal is a collaborative partnership that supports youth baseball while strengthening the facility for the entire community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak, just please come down to the podium or come down to this front row here.
Are we addressing item?
No, this is just for items not on the agenda right now. Thank you. Any other members of the public? Again, if you would like to speak on public presentations, please come down to the podium, or if there's somebody already there, please come down to the front row.
Good afternoon, Supervisors, Chair.
Good afternoon.
My name's Jim Rylander, Rylander. I live in Mount Mesa. And this is in reference to a project that was, I believe, approved last week. Our community there, we don't feel we've received, proper notification, and no one knew about the project. And we would like to request that we could have a meeting in Mount Mesa with the planning department. I believe it's the natural resource. I'm not sure of the jargon. To really inform the community of what this project entails. Many people I know, and actually I spoke to, knew nothing about HUD housing being in our community.
Are you, just to clarify, are you speaking about the duplex at Mount Mesa?
Yes.
Okay, again, that's not on this part. That'll be on the agenda momentarily. This is for items not on the agenda.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Any other members of the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll go now to item number 4, which is board member announcements or reports. Would any members of the board like to make any comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go now to item number 5, and that is a request of Santiago Communities by Joseph E. Bonadaman and Associates, Inc. I'm sure I mispronounced that, for a change in zone classification from low-density residential district to mobile home park district or more restrictive district on a 10-acre parcel located on Rosetta Avenue in unincorporated Mojave area. I'll turn it over to our Director of Planning.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here today with the Assistant Director, Paul Johnson. So the project before your board is a proposed change in zone classification from R1, which is our low-density residential district, so that's our standard 6,000 square foot lots, to MP, or our mobile home park district. So the site itself is an approximately 10-acre parcel. It's located within the Mojave area. The applicant for the request is Santiago Communities by Joseph Bondaman and Associates. Implementation of the request would facilitate the expansion of an existing mobile home park from 84 units to 171 units, adding an additional 87 new spaces. Access to the site would be through the existing mobile home park located off of Gregory Drive, which again is operated by the same applicant for this request. So this project was originally set for consideration by your board on January 27th. However, it was continued until today's hearing to allow staff sufficient time to prepare some additional analysis regarding the amount of existing vacant mobile home park and medium density residential zone districts located both within the Mojave and Rosamond communities. However, before I go through that analysis, I thought it would be beneficial for your board to have an understanding how mobile home parks are managed from a land use standpoint. So in Kern, a mobile home park and mobile home parks are only permitted on land that is zoned MP, although there are some existing sites that may predate that zone classification. The zone district allows recreational vehicle parking, and all development would be subject to the basic development standards. And again, the recreational vehicle parking would be another use in addition to a mobile home park. In general, mobile home parks in California consist of either rented spaces, which are the most common, or their resident-owned communities known as ROCs or ROCs. For most parks, residents own their homes, but they pay a monthly rent for the land. In an ROC, the resident owns shares in the corporation or a condominium interest in the land. If approved, regulatory oversight and enforcement of the park would fall to the California Department of Housing and Community Development, and that's all in accordance with the California Mobile Home Parks Act. So at the request of your board, staff conducted some additional analysis. Those results are summarized on pages 4 through 6 of your staff report, and I'd like to go through some of that analysis now. So within the Mojave community, staff identified a total of 8 parcels that are zoned MP, and that totals 115 acres. Of those 8 parcels, 6 of them, totaling 87 acres, are currently vacant. That equates to about a 75% designated land undeveloped rate. Within Mojave, staff identified a total of 164 parcels that are zoned R2. That totals 128 acres. Of those 164 parcels, 42 of them, totaling 28 acres, are vacant. That equates to 22% of designated land being undeveloped for medium density residential. In Mojave, there's a much higher development rate for medium-density zone parcels than parcels designated specifically for use as a mobile home park. I would further note that there is a large parcel located just south of the project site. That parcel has a mix of zone classification, which include mobile home park, R2, and A1, limited agricultural. Because that site was split zoned, those acreage totals were not included in the summary that I just provided. However, there is an additional 17 acres of mobile home park zone property and 21 acres of R2 zone land in very close proximity just south of the project site. Within the Rosamond area, staff identified 141 parcels that are zoned MP, and that totals 234 acres. Of those parcels, only 3, totaling 60 acres, are currently vacant. That equates to a 26% of designated land that remains undeveloped. Within Rosamond, staff identified 118 parcels that is zoned R2. That totals 62 acres. And of those parcels, only 21 parcels, which equates to 17 acres, are vacant. That is a 27% designated undeveloped area. So in comparison between Mojave and Rosamond, Rosamond has a much higher development rate for both the medium density and mobile home park developments based on designated lands. I would like to note that while total vacant land is part of the analysis that was conducted, land in proximity should also be considered. So as I mentioned before, for this request, there is vacant MP and R2 designated land within 1/2 mile of the project site. So this map shows the green areas that are designated vacant mobile home park lands. And so they're in green, and you can see we have some of it, and we have a circle that outlines the 1/2 mile buffer. And then we have areas that are designated red, which represent vacant R2 zone land. So again, they're next to the project site, which is in yellow. Mr. Johnson can point the project site. All the green and red represent vacant land that is either zoned mobile home park or medium density residential. So this item was considered by the Planning Commission on their December 11th, 2025 hearing. The item was on the consent calendar and was approved by a vote of 3-0 with Commissioners Oliver and Skidmore absent. It was the determination of the Commission that implementation of the project was consistent with the goals and policies of the Mojave Specific Plan, which included development of a balanced land use pattern that ensures future growth, provides a range of residential, employment, service, and recreational opportunities, ensure that the public services and utilities provided are commensurate with the established need for projected growth, promote development in the Mojave community that is based on the realistic growth projections and available funding sources related to capital improvements, and that approval of new commercial, residential, and industrial projects should only be done when public facilities and services can be provided without additional cost to established service users and county resources. Since that time of their recommendation, staff has prepared and provided to your board the additional analysis that has been included in your staff report and presented today. So based on that analysis, there is approximately over 100 acres of vacant land designated for mobile home and medium density uses within the Mojave area. That does include the additional 17 acres of MP designated land and 21 acres of R2 designated land located just south of the site. So based on the record as a whole, which includes the additional analysis, if your board believes that this request is not consistent with the adopted goals, policies of the Mojave Specific Plan, staff has included draft findings for denial with your staff report. Those findings can be found on attachment A. That completes staff's presentation. I'm available for any additional questions that you may have. After public testimony and after your board's discussion, I am prepared to provide a recommended action based on those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board before we go to public comment? Supervisor Parley, are you trying to punch in there? It's all right. Go ahead.
I'll wait for public comment and I'll come back to staff.
Okay, you got it. Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Good afternoon, Chair and Board of Supervisors. My name is Ed Bondeman with Joseph E. Bondeman and Associates. We're the applicant for this with this item. I want to thank staff for working with us for a number of months on this. They've been very, very helpful. We do a number of projects in Kern County. It's always a pleasure to work in Kern County. With me today is the chairman of the board, Gary Bredzel, for this site. Valentine Fregoso, she's the regional manager here in the Bakersfield area. Richard Simonian, he's the CEO of Santiago, along with Paul Gomez with Santiago. Thank you for staff for the presentation. This project really comes down to just simply an expansion of the mobile home park. The first thing you have to do is change the zoning, and then we can go forward with that expansion. So we're looking forward to the board seeing that this would be a logical expansion from a access and utilities and from just a constructability standpoint. It really makes a lot of sense. So we'll be here. I'll be here if you have any questions during your deliberation. And thank you very much. And I hope that you allow the zone change and let us continue with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bondeman. I apologize for getting your name
That's
wrong earlier.
okay. It's part of my life.
Okay, any other members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board, and we'll start with Supervisor Parlier.
Thank you, Chairman. So Craig, on attachment 1, and I'm looking at the basis for denial and recommendation finding, or recommended finding. Can you just articulate, there's 5 of them there. There's kind of various paragraphs. Can you give me a brief synopsis or a lengthy narrative, if you want, regarding that?
Sure, Supervisor Parlier. So as staff looked at this and we kind of looked at what this new additional information was, we looked at what the findings that were identified originally when the project was considered. But again, that did not necessarily include this additional analysis. So really what it comes down to is if your board believes that there is existing land that is sufficient to meet this particular need, the findings that we have included in here for the denial would basically result into the proposed zone change would not be consistent with the goals of the Mojave-specific plan at this particular time because there would be existing land that is already ready for different types of development of similar types of uses. So the findings that were put on there is that we identified that the inventory analysis determined that there was really sufficient land to meet the designated need, which is one of those goals, is that you shouldn't necessarily go through different changes if you don't have the population growth. Having so much available vacant land could lead one to believe that you're now redesignating land that is maybe not appropriate given the fact that we have a whole bunch of land that is already identified for this use and hasn't been developed. So some of the findings that have been included that way are really to that effect, to identify that this project, as proposed, would not be consistent with the ultimate goals, policies of the Mojave-specific plan. Again, we've identified the existing acreage. Specifically, we've also identified the existing acreage that is immediately south of the project site. So it's not only that you have acreage available in the Mojave area, but you have land designated, again, within a half a mile and immediately adjacent. So that's really what the findings equate to. And, they're written in different forms to kind of identify how the project may not meet those goals that the Planning Commission thought it did prior to having this analysis.
And the subject property is currently R1, correct?
Yes, the subject property is currently R1, so meaning it would be prepared and it's ready to go through any land division process to ultimately create about 6,000 square foot lots. So changing that to a mobile home park would change some of the characteristics of the use, it would change characteristics of the land, and again, you would be creating additional mobile home park land when you have a vacant land that is already there. And just for purposes of the audience, and we included the R2, the mobile home park is generally considered a medium density type of development, and so that is why when we did our analysis, we looked at both mobile home parks and then R2 designated lands.
And for those that don't know, R1 is single-family homes, correct?
That is correct. And they're typically made up of about 6,000 square foot lots.
Okay, thank you so much. So my first day in office, and really this has nothing to do with Santiago properties, I went online and looked at some of the properties that Santiago owns and manages, and they look like wonderful facilities and well-run. But one of the hang-ups that I have is with HCD. California Housing and Community Development. First day in office, there was another mobile home park in my district that turned into a disaster zone and took months to figure out, and HCD was really of, I'll just say, minimal help through that process. And when you have a property owner, in this case, nothing to do with Santiago, that doesn't necessarily manage something right, HCD isn't necessarily there to pick up the pieces either. Now, as a representative for District 2 that covers that area, Mojave, Roseman, Boron, California City, one thing that I hear from my constituents out there is the need for single-family housing. Really nobody in East Kern is clamoring for more mobile home parks. Now, I think staff is given a good presentation. In fact, could you pull up the map again, the one that has the circle and just kind of shows the properties around it and designations? And the green is mobile, right? Correct. So I think there's already sufficient use or land use designation around the current property. I don't know if the applicant owns the property or not, but it is designated for mobile home, and it appears to be adjacent. It is adjacent to this property, correct?
Supervisor Parlier, that is correct, and I believe our initial records, when I did look at that, I do not believe they own those other parcels. I did look at that, but it is immediately adjacent.
Okay. Well, regardless, I think there's ample space for expansion, potentially expansion of mobile home park, and I'd really like to see single-family designated lands to build out in that area. This is fairly close to Roseman, and that community continues to expand. And I was out there with AV Edge, which is a regional body to help bring businesses and homes to East Kern and over into the Antelope Valley. And they were very specific in saying that the people that want to move to East Kern, let's say from the Los Angeles area or Antelope Valley, really are looking for that single-family residence. With that in mind, I am going to make a motion to deny the applicant's request. I feel for the applicant. I know you put a lot of time and resources into this, but nevertheless, that's my position. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Supervisor Flores?
Thank you for sharing your concerns and your insights into your district. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, before you actually take the vote, can I just read a recommendation just so that it's clear for a record?
Sure.
So the item then that would be presented would be to adopt resolution, recommended findings as presented in attachment A, disapproving the proposed zone change as being inconsistent with the Mojave goals and policies of the Mojave specific plan.
And then I would adjust my motion for staff recommendation.
Thank you. Supervisor Flores, do you accept that? Okay, thank you. Okay, please cast your votes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, may I?
We're actually this is past the public presentation portion of it here. This is just in the staff deliberation part.
Are you sure that the board wouldn't like comment back from the developer on what they just discussed? And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense?
That's not typically done. This isn't really the back and forth opportunity for that.
Would you mind?
You know, like I said, that's not something that's typically done.
Mr. Parlier, would you mind?
That
we came all the way up here. We've been working with over a year with staff. It's just an incredible surprise. I'm just floored. This was on a consent calendar, and now you're denying it. I'm completely floored that you guys that you've been considering that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I understand. I'm sorry, but that there's a time for public comment, and that this is the parliamentary procedure of
Okay.
the board operation, so.
Well,
This is time.
it's unfortunate. It's just
Okay.
amazing that you allow a piece of property
Okay,
that
sir.
can only be developed as
Sir.
a mobile home park to not be developed
Again,
as a mobile home
I'm
park.
sorry, but this isn't the time for public comment. You're more than welcome to voice those opinions. Schedule a meeting, reach out to your supervisor, share those comments, but this isn't the time and place for the public comment. So we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is item number 6, and that's public hearing for proposed substantial amendment to the County of Kern fiscal year 2024-2025 annual action plan for community development programs located at 6424 Lynch Canyon Drive, Mount Mesa. And for that, we'll be hearing again from our planning director, Craig Murphy.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the project site for item number 6, it is located on Lynch Canyon Drive, which is off of Highway 178 in the Mountain Mesa area. So our project applicant, Michael Lixton, is requesting a $500,000 loan to assist in the construction of a duplex on assessor parcel number 486-07506. And so on this map, it is the parcel shown in blue.
Hey, Director, could I interrupt you for just a second? If you'd like to have a seat there in the front row, sir, we're going to hear staff's presentation, and then I'll call for public comment. Thank you.
All right, so as I was saying, so the project site is located in blue, APN 486-07506. So the proposed duplex would include 2 units, each consisting of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Each would be approximately 785 square feet with a single-car garage and a driveway. So in exchange for the requested 30-year loan, which will require annual payments back to the county, the applicant will sign an agreement deed restricting the units to low-income households for a 20-year period of time. 1 unit will be rented at a 50% of the area median income, and the other would be at 60% of the area median income. Just so that we have context in terms of what we are discussing, I pulled the area median income for the Bakersfield-Delano area. So it does change based on the number of persons we're talking about. But for a household of 4, the 50% low income would be a total of $75,100. And for a family of 4, the total income limit for 60% of the median income would be $56,340. So again, I just think that's important to have some context in terms of what those numbers mean. So again, I would note that the county entered into a similar agreement with the applicant last month on property that is located across the street. Mr. Johnson can point to that property. So that agreement was a little bit different. There was an existing duplex that was on site. The agreement that was made for that one was that $350,000 loan was provided to the applicant. They're going to do some repairs to the roof, some siding repairs, and they're going to do some repairs to the duplex for termite damage. And for that particular site, because it was already built, the county would get the agreement would be for a 15-year loan. A 30-year loan, but a 15-year deed restriction for those 2 units to be rented as the 2 income levels that I had mentioned before. I would note, just because there were some questions regarding this particular item and how we got to this board, I'd just like to provide some contents for some of this. First, when it comes to housing in general. So as your board is well aware, when we went through the housing element, the state of California has made it very clear that we have to treat any type of home the same across all spectrum of what we do. So in a standard R1 zone, as we had talked about before, so 6,000 square foot lots, the county we don't have discretion to indicate whether or not that unit could be used as a group home or transitional housing or assisted living of any aspect of it, as long as it's for 6 or fewer persons. So when it comes to the house itself, this particular site is zoned R3. So you are allowed to build a duplex on that particular site. The reason this is before you today is because as part of the federal government's HUD program and as part of the home funds, the county would be required to amend our agreement to where we would identify this as a project, and then we would actually come back again with the agreement specifically in front of you if this was something that was ultimately authorized. But the reason there was no notice, there was no public, this is a public hearing, but there was no hearing notice that was mailed or anything along those lines, was because it wasn't a change of any land use, it wasn't a conditional use permit, or it wasn't anything along those lines. The other item I would just like to mention is, just because I saw some other questions about how the funding could be spent. So I would like to just provide a summary of what eligible home funds projects can be used. So home funds specifically may be used by participating jurisdiction to provide incentives to develop and support affordable rental housing and home ownership affordability through the acquisition, new construction, reconstruction, or rehabilitation on non-luxury housing with suitable amenities, including real property acquisition, site improvements, conversion, demolition, and other expenses. So the money that this loan that the county would offer is not money that could be used for other types of purposes. It is specifically designed for these types of uses. And again, it's not money that the county is necessarily giving away. It's money that we are giving away as a loan, and we expect to be fully reimbursed for the costs associated with that over the 30-year term of that particular loan. So that completes my summary of the project before you today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have before we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So just for clarity's sake, let me see if I kind of understand the bullet points of it. So this isn't approving this duplex. This is whether or not we will provide this loan to this applicant.
Chairman Peters, that is correct. So minus us, if another individual, this individual, another property owner, anybody, wanted to have as an investment property a duplex, and they wanted to rent it out and qualify for other types of programs or anything along those lines, there would be no action for your board in terms of saying yes or no in terms of that. That is something that the applicant would agree however they got that. The reason it's before you today is specifically because we administer the home funds. We have a request to change our plans to identify this as a particular project to qualify for those funds. And then ultimately, if this is approved, we would come back to your board with the actual language in the agreement that would spell out the terms of the loan. But yes, that is the reason why it's before you today, and why it didn't have any public hearing notices that were directly mailed and things along those lines, like other land use applications that come before you where someone is proposing to change land or to enter into a conditional use permit.
Okay. And again, just to run through a few of the bullets. So if say another person were to go outside of this funding mechanism and go build a duplex, turning it into, say, a halfway house or sober living facility or something like that, you're saying it would be a by right use of that property in California that we wouldn't have any discretion over?
Chairman Peters, that is correct, especially if it's 6 or fewer people. So when it starts to get a little bit bigger than that, the county does have a little more leeway in terms of the processing. But no, the state of California specifically requires that we treat care facilities, assisted living facilities, transitional facilities the exact same way you would treat any single family residence that we have. It has to be allowed in all uses that allow single family residence, and we are not allowed to go through any special provisions to consider those type of units.
Okay, and then if we do approve this, it would require that for a period of, I think you said 15 years, that it's strictly just housing for low-income individuals?
For this project, it would be 20 years because it is new construction. For the project that was across the street, it would be 15 years because that is not new construction. It was rehabilitation of an existing structure.
Understood. Okay, I think there was some misinformation or some misunderstanding going on around that. But I just want to clarify that before we get some further information. Are there any other questions?
Real quick, sorry, the last thing, just because I didn't mention it, I know we use the term duplex and everything. We are talking about 4 units, 2 units on each site.
Understood, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board before we go to public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll open it up to members of the public if you would like to make comment on this item.
My name is Stephen with a V, Reed, R-E-E-D.
If you could put the map up again, is that possible?
Yes, they're working on it right now.
Okay. If you look to the east, my house is about 8 houses down to the east. There you go, right in there. So I drove by that this morning, and they are working on it. One of the things that, and I only got 2 minutes, so anyway, I've lived on that street for 44 years, and I'm pretty confident that out of just courtesy alone, we should have got some sort of notification in the neighborhood that this was happening. Between Poplar Street and Birch Street, Dogwood and Mountain Mesa Road, it's all single-family dwellings. My point being is that we get notification for trash and everything else that there's going to be changes in those areas. We got no notification other than in the local newspaper, and it came out days after the appeals process was even valid. I have a feeling that this type of a unit could dramatically affect the property value of the current homeowners. There are no services in the area. There's no daycare, no transportation, very minimal employment. And there are many other areas in the county, in the Kern River Valley, that are probably more suitable for this type of a installation that don't require any new construction, or at least pioneering of utilities. Out in the South Lake area, there's a lot of vacant lots affected by the Erskine fire. They have power, they have sewer, they have water, or not sewer, they have septic. All those lots don't require the pioneering of new development. In the Kern River Valley, and I've lived there 44 years, you can buy existing homes for, I think the estimated construction cost on these is somewhere around $230,000, $240,000. You can buy 3-bedroom, 2-bath house all day long. There's not a shortage of them. Now, in closing, I worked for the Kern County Fire Department for 31 years, most of the time at the Lake Isabella Station, Station 72. Not in the greatest neighborhood. From the first day that I reported to duty on that station till the day I retired, we saw the same people every day. Not every day, but we saw them a lot. And whether you call them disadvantaged, disenfranchised, substance abuse, no matter how you categorize them, their lives never changed.
Sir,
we saw the same people over and over. Now, what I'm getting at is, let me finish.
Okay, well, you're about 30 seconds over, so we need to bring your comments to a close, please.
Okay, these folks, they're not experiencing these issues. It's a lifestyle. So I would really appreciate it if we didn't bring that lifestyle into a neighborhood of single-family homes where everybody pretty much keeps their place up. And is there a way to remove this from the docket today?
No, sir. Today's the day for it to be heard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Oh, am I okay?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Board, Supervisors. I have the same concerns as Steve. I live at 6608 Lynch Canyon, right next door to Steve, along with a lot of our other neighbors who voiced real concern over this project. We really lacked being notified of this project and even considered the fact that we weren't able to really digest it or even talk about it as a community. And the people that I went to in my neighborhood, of same perimeters there along Birch and Poplar and in between, they were not for this project at all. And they didn't want HUD housing in our community. We would also want to request a meeting out in Mountain Mesa with the planning, I guess, department, how this is approved, to really give us the information we need, to make informed decisions about our community and about this project. And I would ask that you would grant that for us so we can feel like our voices are being heard, because this notification was put in 2 newspapers. One of them is a Bakersfield paper. One of them's a small local paper, Kern Sun. And the people that I spoke to never even knew about the project because they don't get the newspaper. So we feel a community meeting would be adequate to address our concerns and our needs about HUD housing in general, this project. That's basically all I have for now. Thank you for considering that.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? If you're wanting to speak on this project, please come down to the front row and come up when the previous speakers finish. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Lickstein. I am the owner, builder of this property. I'm kind of difficult based on some of these statements these people make. They refer to HUD housing as those people dehumanizing people just because they may live in affordable housing or something that's named HUD housing. I grew up in HUD housing myself. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not a thief. My mom was a single parent raising kids, and this type of housing is just really needed for these kinds of people. It's good for elderly. The handicapped, it's handicapped accessible, and a lot of the comments online was just mostly about hate speech and not in my backyard stuff. So I just wanted to say that I take offense to the way people keep characterizing anybody that's in a HUD home or affordable housing as less than. It's not the case, and this unit is going to be very well maintained, very nice. If anything, it'll improve the community in that area and the prices. I know the houses in the area, they're pretty inexpensive at this time, but this is just adding to these areas as being nice and place for people to live, and everybody deserves a nice place to live, period. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
I just want to clarify that these housings cannot be turned into transitional detox or sober livings for 15 to 20 years. I just want to put that on the record. I want to reiterate that. The notice that is in the paper and online says each apartment will be rented to a low-income household and comply with HUD rent limits. That does not mean that it is a HUD housing unit. It just complies with and lines up with those. Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. I am a Kern River Valley resident and community advocate. I work directly with many of the populations being discussed today: seniors, caregivers, individuals struggling with housing instability, and people trying to access recovery services. I want to express my support for the thoughtful housing solutions in our valley. One of the biggest challenges we face here is the lack of stable housing options for people who already live and work in this community, including seniors on fixed incomes, working families, and people trying to rebuild their lives. I also want to address some of the fear that often surrounds these conversations. Access to stable housing and access to treatment services are 2 of the most effective ways to reduce homelessness, reduce public safety concerns, and improve overall community health. Communities become stronger when people have pathways to stability. Ignoring these issues does not protect our community. Thoughtful planning and reasonable implementation does. Our valley is already beginning conversations about future solutions, including transitional housing, recovery support, and community-based services that help people stabilize and contribute positively to the community. I encourage the board to continue supporting responsible housing development and to keep working with local advocates and organizations who are committed to solutions that make the Kern River Valley safer and healthier for everyone. If we truly care about the future of Kern River Valley, then we need to invest in solutions that give people stability, recovery, and a path forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Lickstein. I'm Michael's wife. And I just wanted to add a few little things. We've already had interest in the property that we want to build, as well as the duplex that we are currently renovating right now. We've already, roofing's already getting done. The neighbor the tenant that lives there, all she said to us was, I just don't want it to rain anymore in my house. So we're taking care of all that stuff. We're making sure everything is taken care of. There is people who are interested in that property, in that duplex, that we are interested in to rent to. They're single parents, whether it's female or male, raising 2 children, and they work at the hospital, and they just want to have close proximity, whatever that word is, thank you, to where they work. Okay, so I really think that we are trying to give back for what was given to him when he was growing up. Again, horrible words of those people and hate. We're just trying to make a better life for people who live in the community currently, to give back to the people, and they can have a nice place to live. They have a nice, beautiful park. That doesn't mean they're going to have drug needles everywhere like people are saying on the internet. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And I really hope that you guys do approve this, because we just want to make this area better. I've been up here since 60 years with my uncle who lived up here, who lost his mobile home in that big fire on South Lake. So giving back to the community is very important to me and to him as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. I guess just to help kind of guide where the conversation goes, I would ask Director Murphy, are there time constraints or deadlines that we're butting up against if this item were to be continued or tabled to for a month or something like that, just to give more time for discussions with the public?
Chairman Peters, there is not. If Mr. Johnson can put the zoning map on. So a couple of things I just want to offer here for your discussion, deliberation. So one, just to kind of, because there was a discussion about R1 single-family homes, the area is located in an area where there's a number of duplexes. And if the clerk could put the map on the board again. Again, just for conversational purposes, this is located in an area of land that is zoned R3. So it is meant for high density. Right in, you can see how that area in bright yellow, all of that is zoned high density residential. So where the particular site is located, that is the zoning that has been used for that particular site. As I mentioned before, there is not a provision. You know, this was an application that came in. If it's your board's prerogative to have a little more discussion or a little more time to think about it, that is fine. There's not a deadline that would need to happen one way or the other. Regarding and regardless of your discussion and your decision today and whether you decide to approve, deny, or continue, if Mr. Reed will come talk to me afterwards, I'm happy to get his contact information. And regardless of this decision, again, I've been the planning director now for officially since December, and I've worked in the county for 20 years, but it's been a while since I've been in the Mount Mesa area. And regardless of this decision, I would be happy to go meet with their community just to get a formal relationship and discussions with them. So I just mentioned that if Mr. Reed wants to come talk to me afterwards, irregardless of what your board decides on this.
Thank you, Director Murphy. I appreciate that. This is one I am kind of struggling with. I understand some of the concerns. Just to go back to the issues that were brought up about public notices and community meetings, that this isn't a county project, that these duplexes are being built by the county, so that this is an application essentially for a loan through the county. And I mean, we have over 8,000 miles of county and many, many houses and projects that are going on. So having a community meeting for each item that the county deals with would be very difficult. But I understand what you're saying. You want some more time to consider it. As far as the applicant, I definitely appreciate your comments, and I understand the need, and it seems to be consistent with what I've heard in my time as supervisor, that there's a need for increased services, increased housing availability in the Kern River Valley. And it seems like this kind of fits that bill. So I was very surprised. I just became aware of this project myself recently, but I was very surprised by the amount of pushback we got from the community. It was significant. We received probably close to 36 phone calls and emails by residents in opposition, which is an extreme number for an issue like this. So that's definitely something I have to take into consideration. I get the apprehension, when people hear low-income housing, it might conjure certain images or preconceptions that put people on edge for something in their neighborhood, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily what the online community has been making it out to be. It seems like there's been a significant amount of misinformation going on around this project, but I think that might be helped by an opportunity for some more communication. So could I invite the applicant to come back down to the podium? So I don't know as far as timeline wise. I'm just trying to figure out a way to do what's best for the community and kind of try and parse through the best option to go here. But is that something that you would be amenable to if that's a direction we could go, just to say, we're not going to say yes or no to this today, but we want to give a few weeks or a month or something to give you an opportunity to maybe meet with the community and get some more information. If you or other community members would like to provide my office some more information and just hopefully foster a little bit more communication about what this is and what it looks like going forward. I think that might be a good idea going forward, just having that community buy-in, or maybe there's very legitimate reasons why the community is opposed to it that I'm not aware of yet. But I think that might be a good idea if that's something you'd be amenable to.
Well, yeah, I'll be amenable, to the board for what they want to do. Reading all the comments online and stuff, there's nothing legal, there's nothing procedural, and again, it's more just don't put it near me. But they don't even understand what it is. The rentals are pretty much consistent with what's there now. If you look at the home rental limits, the income limits, it's all pretty similar right now because Kern County obviously is higher than what Lake Isabella is. So technically almost everybody in that area is low income, but they don't know it because the median income there in Mount Mesa is $64,000 a year, $70,000 a year is what Bakersfield is. So it's mostly just the stigma of the name of what it is. Mr. Rylander over there was the one that posted the original thing about it. The article in the Kern Valley Sun kind of linked my project with all the other stuff they were talking about, like the the different housing for drug and alcohol and all that kind of stuff. But they have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. I don't know where he got his map. Maybe you can tell me that. But he also posted a map that showed that entire block with a big Section 8 across it, saying there's a big push to put all the Section 8 housing in here. And they're going to run over our community and all that, which is not the case whatsoever. As far as I know, unless you guys know different, there's no other plans to build anything else there at this current time.
Yeah, none that I'm aware of, but I appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, so
okay.
Again, I'll be happy to defer to you for your best advice. If you want to wait the month, that's fine.
Thank you.
I don't think it's fully necessary based on all the legwork we've done up to this point, the tribal, the environmental. We've gone through every step of the way. And like I said, it will be a better thing for the community. Unfortunately, these guys don't seem to see that right now. But once it's built and up and running, again, there's not going to be a bunch of bad people living
Understood.
there whatsoever.
I appreciate it.
I would defer to you for your best advice. And if you'd like to defer for a month, that would be fine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And then,
one more thing.
Really, if you could do it really quickly, just in the interest of time.
There is water and power already at the property. I don't need to pioneer nothing in.
Understood. Thank you. And I don't know, Mr. Reed or Mr. Rylander, I wanted to give you an opportunity to say something if you'd like, but if that's something you'd be amenable to, I'm just trying to be fair to everybody involved in this project. So if you could come to the podium, if you wouldn't mind, either one of you that would like to respond.
Steve Reed again. We're very amenable to a little more time to discuss this project and maybe have some sort of community meeting with the developers and Mr. Murphy to allay some of our personal conceptions or misconceptions to this type of development in our local area.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that, and I would just say I would encourage the two groups maybe to coordinate, find some time to discuss this, and then Also, obviously, my office is more than willing to, any comments or thoughts that you would like to share regarding that as well. I would be happy to hear from you and maybe revisit this in a month when we've had a little bit more time to dig into it and get a little bit more understanding of the community from both perspectives.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. So are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'm not sure what the appropriate recommendation would be. Maybe, I don't know the date off the top of my head, not our next meeting, but the following, April 14th. Could we continue this item to April 14th?
Chairman Peters, yes, you may continue it to the 14th if that's the next available meeting.
Okay, thank you. Then I would make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second, please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, all ayes.
Okay, and I believe that takes us to the end of our agenda. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Chairman.
Thank you. We are adjourned.